Namaste. Welcome to our 52nd talk on the Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to begin now in the 12th chapter and the first verse, which is called the Yoga of Devotion. Before we were in the 10th chapter, which is called the Yoga of Divine Glories. And right past the point where I stopped talking, Krishna starts enumerating all these things that are reflections of the divine glory, Aishwarya, divine powers. He says, among devotees, I'm Prahlad, that was a great devotee. Among this, I am that, on and on. Philosophically, it means virtually nothing to you. It just means wherever you see glory, insight, real, transforming, spiritual power, I'm there. And I would have to, he names all these figures and from history or that are in the astral world and all these various things. And frankly, I think you'd find it completely tiresome. And so I'm leaving that out. Then the very next chapter is called The Vision of the Cosmic Form. Now, by the way, forgive me, in your reading of the Gita, please do read the rest of that 10th chapter because it's very, very good. But you may have to find yourself looking up a lot of things, but that's good. Then you'll be smarter at the end than you were at the beginning. And the Vision of the Cosmic Form is very valuable. Do read that. But you see, it's supremely dramatic. It's rather astounding. It's kind of, in a sense, overwhelming because Arjuna does have this vision, but at the end of it, he's sort of like, and Krishna has to say, all right, don't worry. Here's what my form that I'm talking with you from now. And he suddenly then, by his yoga power, he brings Arjuna down to that level because, shall we say, God is awesome? God is amazing. And that is so vast, you see, just the expansion of the mind to be able to see it. For one whose mind is unused to it. And by the way, Arjuna was a very great adept yogi, even at the time of this conversation of the Gita. And for him, it was almost more than he could bear. But it is valuable and it is very, very good. And it's very true because it shows all these aspects of God, especially Krishna says, I'm all destroying time. And then you come to read, Sri Ramakrishna had a vision, Sri Ramakrishna had a vision. He saw a woman give birth to a baby and then eat it, okay? Then she gave birth to another baby and she ate it. Well, he was horrified, but then he understood, no, this is a symbol. God brings forth the universe, gives it birth, and then he dissolves and withdraws it. In a sense, he eats it. He takes it back into himself. So gruesome as the sight was, it had a very genuine and worthwhile message. But it is really true. I remember one of Yogananda's very close disciples saying that he more than once said, there is a side to God that would drive you insane if you saw it. Now, he didn't mean it was so horrible or evil, but it was just so overwhelming that just the sight would sort of make you blow your circuits or blow your fuses. And you'd not be the same. You wouldn't be able to function once you had seen it. All right. So then, the beginning of chapter 12, the Yoga of Devotion. Arjuna asks the question, the constantly steadfast, that's the only ones he's talking about, who worship you with devotion, and those who worship the eternal unmanifest, which of them has a better understanding of yoga? For example, they talk about Saguna Brahman, God with qualities, with forms, Nirguna Brahman, God without qualities or forms, and God in manifestation. I mean, God does manifest divine forms. God manifests in the incarnations of God, in avatars, but he's manifesting as you and I. So there are those who worship that aspect of God. He is great, he is good, he is powerful, he's eternal, and so on. And there are those who worship the what? Can't say anything about it, can't name it, you can't conceive it. So what are you uniting with? What is the goal of your yoga? What is indeed in the process of your yoga? So who understands yoga best? Because everyone always says the Nirguna people, the Advaitins, especially the phony Advaitins that are nothing more than monists. Monism is not the truth. Non-duality is the truth. But monism is fanatical and partial, therefore ignorant. So they're always considered, oh, they're very high. Oh, well, Baba, he's an Advaitin and so on. Yes. We're going to get the truth now out of Krishna. So, who has the best understanding? Those who worship with dedication, not just emotion, and say it can be reached, it is something I can lay hold of, that I can expand my consciousness to the point where at least some of it I comprehend. And those who say, no, well, it's a formless absolute. These are the people who say, oh, I just sit in the silence. Yes, the people who don't plan to get anywhere, they always go after the unmanifest because they'll never reach it because it can't be reached. But they sound so philosophical. Yes, you see. And by the way, these people are always citing Sri Ramana Maharshi. Read Ramana's real life. Read what Sri Ramana really said and did, and you'll find out those people have nothing to do with Ramana Maharshi at all. Just like most Christians have nothing to do with Christ. So understand that, please. I mean, look at it for yourself and find out for yourself. Okay. Who has the best understanding? Those who are ever steadfast, who worship me, fixing their minds on me, which means you can fix your mind on the absolute, endowed with supreme faith. Nothing can turn them back. Nothing can scare them. Nothing can frighten them. You have people that they start to meditate and then they have some weird experience and it frightens them, or they'll feel, I'm going to die, or something like that. And then they get scared, they stop, they never meditate again. Well, these people are not to be mocked or looked down on. They have had an experience, but they didn't understand it. But usually, if you study them, you find they don't follow yama and niyama. And not only that, they haven't really studied the Gita or read any of the divine scriptures. So you have to have a background. All right. Those who are ever steadfast, who worship me, fixing their minds on me, endowed with supreme faith because they have expanded minds. I consider them to be the best versed in yoga because they're the real yogis. The yogis who say, well, after all, it's wordless and I won't say anything. And, but they don't know anything to tell you. So they try to pretend like, well, it's so high. How could an ignorant person like you understand what a great person like me has grasped? Yes. They're like that story, remember, I've told about the bitter gourd that went on pilgrimage and came home and said he was transformed. But when somebody thought to taste him, bitter gourd is incredibly bitter. They found out it was still bitter. So anyone can talk non duality. But you notice they don't live non duality. But those who worship the imperishable, the indefinable, the unmanifested, the all pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, unmoving, the constant, those people who are going for that attain to me also. So the so-called bhaktas say the path of jnana is delusional and so on, and the jnanis say the path of bhakti is delusional. You know what? Neither of them are devotees and neither of them are jnanis. Otherwise, they wouldn't have this view. So, you see, so he said, they attained me also. That's the last clause in the fourth verse. But you see, after he said, those who worship the imperishable, the undefinable, the unmanifested, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, unmoving, the constant, then he describes them actually. But I skipped over that to coming back to this. Controlling all the senses. I can eat anything I want. I can drink anything I want because I see the one behind it all. Not at all. Controlling all the senses, even-minded everywhere, happy in the welfare of all beings. It isn't like, oh, I'm just beyond it all. And, oh, well, those people over there that you see there, they're in delusion, but what can I do for them, you know? No. Those who do all this, and they do see value in all the others. And yes, there's a value in the I only go after the one. But at the moment, they're without much value because they're so self-deluded in their inflated egotism. All right. Greater is the effort of those whose minds are set on the unmanifest. For the unmanifest as a goal is truly difficult for the embodied ones to reach. In other words, when you're in this world and in this physical body and in this relative condition, it is so difficult and virtually impossible for you to encompass the real that. So you take that path of the Saguna, you follow it, it will take you beyond relativity, and then it'll be easy for you to behold, experience, know, and merge into the unmanifest. That is done. But usually in this lower world, you should know about the highest, you should know about the Advaita, you should know about the unmanifest, but understand you're aiming that, but you're living in this world and conditioning your sadhana according to that, and then you'll attain that transcendent ultimately. But those who renouncing all actions in me, intent on me as the highest goal, worship me, meditating on me with single-minded yoga. Single-minded yoga. In other words, right into the bullseye of the target. Of those whose consciousness has entered into me, not, oh, my devotion, will my love reach you, oh God, and all this. That is really putrid silliness. Those whose consciousness has entered into God. I am soon the deliverer from the ocean of mortal samsara. It's not instant. You have to get ripened in it, in a sense. Having that consciousness truly, continually in the awareness of the Absolute. But yet soon, it doesn't take lifetimes, in that very lifetime, they're delivered from the ocean in which they're drowning of mortal samsara. So the advice is, in the 8th verse, keep your mind on me alone, causing your intellect to enter into me. What does that mean? Japa, 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 japa. Name the absolute. Okay, japa is japa, a repetition of a mantra. What is the mantra that speaks the absolute? Soham. For, as I've said more than once, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it says, in the beginning there was just the Supreme Purusha, and primally, initially, this Purusha said, Soham Asmi. I am Soham, which means I am my name. I am Soham. And because we are all part of that absolute, in our core, Soham is also going on. It was going on when we were high in the infinite, beyond all relativity. And when we were there, and when we came down through the worlds, and even now, the process that is the process of coming into this world is the breath. But there's also the inner breath that moves and doesn't move, impels and does not impel. And that too also says Soham. When we inhale, the sound so is produced by the subtle breath, and we exhale, the sound hum is produced by the exhale breath. So the breath, the subtle body, and ultimately our own Atma is literally saying, Soham, Soham. I am that, I am that, I am that. Not I am he. It's an impersonal pronoun. I am that. And doing that, fixing the mind on that process, which is an eternal process. It was inside always before it ever manifested as any kind of movement, which ultimately down in this material world became the act of physical breathing. It is eminent and transcendent at the same time. It brought us, Soham brought us into this world, and Soham takes us back to the origin. Soham is the origin. Soham is the absolute name of God. Soham, the consciousness, is the absolute consciousness that is God and is your and my consciousness as well. This is extremely important. So, keep your mind on me alone, causing your buddhi, your intellect, your perceptive conscious mind to enter into me. Practice and you'll see what it is. Don't practice, you'll never know. I've said it before, Soham will teach you all about itself and all of its aspects. And that's why a real spiritual teacher, a real Sadguru, will not tell you those things. Because if you do the Soham sadhana, you'll find it out for yourself, and then you'll know it's true. But if he tells you, then you won't know that it wasn't just suggestion of your mind to know. But so that's why the real yogis, the real gurus of the not yogi tradition, they don't tell you everything. They tell you how to get into the awareness of the everything, and then you know it. Everyone should be taught of God is a verse actually in the Bible. So then, fix your mind, cause your intellect to enter into me, then without doubt you shall dwell in me. If you're unable to fix your mind on me steadily, well, none of us are going to do it from the time you hear it, although I've known people like that. Oh, the first time I ever learned about it, I just closed my eyes. I was there. Yes. Uh, if you're unable to fix your mind on me steadily, then seek to attain me by the constant practice of yoga. Soham San. If you're unable to practice yoga, that is, if you can't do it to absolute perfection, so every time you meditate, you find yourself aware of God. And it doesn't mean if you say, oh, I just can't do it, or somehow I just kind of like it, or I'm not advanced enough. No, no, no. Again, that's the way the asuras, that's the way the demons talk. No, it means you're aware, well, I did it, but I don't think I did it very well. And my mind was here and there. Of course it is. Can you imagine somebody, a child that would say, well, I'm not going back to school because today they gave me a reader and I had trouble reading and most of the words I didn't know. So why should I? Why should I? I can't. No. So a real tapaswan is not an idiot. And when I'm saying that these excuses, they're the words of the idiot. So, uh-oh. Uh, so then, if you're unable to practice yoga, be intent on acting for my sake. In other words, everything you do, you say, may this take me closer to the goal. May this open and purify my consciousness. And that's the purpose for which you do it. Even by performing actions for my sake, you will attain perfection. Now, it doesn't mean you'll get realization. You'll get siddhi. You will get the ability then to do that which you need. The ability then to meditate correctly. The ability then to see and experience and to evolve. That is the message. But it all does come down to, O Arjuna, be thou a yogi. So we're only 2 minutes off the time. So namaste until the next time.